Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have an instructive game to share with you from the late titled Tuesday, which was held on January 23rd. On the white end, 14-year-old FIDE master Artem Dyachuk playing against Vladimir Kramnik. After the game, Kramnik reported his opponent for cheating. My own take on this, given my own experience with the game, especially playing online, I factored in move times with this one, reviewed it with an engine, looking at key moments throughout. And in my own opinion, this was a well-played and honest game by a young, talented player, and I really saw no red flags. I see moments where others may think there's a red flag, but I don't believe so. Anyhow, there are a few key features to take away from this one, things to look for on white's end. 1, a nice middle game plan on the queen side. 2, a key defensive idea on the king side. And 3, a beautiful puzzle rush-like ending. Let's have a look. We kick off with e4, Sicilian defense, Moscow variation with knight d7. Queen comes out early in this one. White has to be a bit careful once the queen is challenged where to go. She has a responsibility. e3 is best, out of reach of knight c5. Knight c5 still. White is there in time to secure e4. Bishop b7, security for the white queen. And b5. What move would you play here as white? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, as mentioned at the start, here's this nice middle game plan on the queen side, and it involves a couple key pawn moves. Kicking off with b4, this is a best move. A proceed with caution move, I should note, creating 4 weaknesses. Of the 4 weaknesses, I'd be most concerned here as white about the c-file weaknesses, given black has this half-open c-file. Very easy to one day see a black major piece exploit one of these two. Now, the moments I've seen b4 be effective are moments like this, where it hits with tempo. Black's reaction is defensive, and white now has time to follow up with a4. Do know the main idea behind b4. It is not just to attack the knight. It is to fix the b5 pawn, so that when a4 is there, this pressure becomes too much on b5. It's now a point that cannot be maintained. It's hit 3 times, defended once. Black has to give it up, and with it, give white a half-open a-file and a ready-made target in a6. This will be white's primary focus from here, to simply pile up on the weak link. White will also, as we will see, have to juggle some defensive moves on the king side, but for now at least, the focus is on the a6 pawn. Castles, bishop b2, knight f4, white hangs on to the bishop, and black forms a battery, lining up a sacrifice on the king side, one way or the other. We continue here with rook f to a1. If white wants to prevent a sacrifice on the king side, he can with knight to d2. This allows the queen lateral defense against those tricks. In this one, though, rook f to a1. I believe you could play this move without any serious depth of calculation, knowing that right around the corner now for white is bishop f1 and bishop g2, and the bishop on g2 is known to be a fantastic kingside defender. Black goes in for the sacrifice. It's not a winning sacrifice. It's also not a losing sacrifice. We're entering an interesting position. Note, it's the capture on g2, so that the king is pulled a rank forward, so that black can now take on h3 that much more forcefully with check, only move. Knight g4. And what do we do here? Problem on h2 potentially. For the moment it's covered. Problem here with the queen, white has to be accurate. spent some time at this moment, found the best move, bishop f1, saying you take my queen, I take yours, I'm up the piece. You want to exchange queens, I'm cool with that. Black really cannot go down that path. What would this look like if black takes the queen here? We're just exchanging queens. In a position like this, the two minor pieces outweigh the rook. This knight, once on d5, will be worth a rook. So, both queens are saved. Black continues with f5. What's the plan? Open up the f-file, sacrifice on f3, and give mate on h2. But white is there just in time, securing f3 and saying, even if one day you get to h2, no problems, I can hang a left. Very good defender, this bishop on g2. Bishop b7. Thematic follow-up. Now that a couple defensive moves have been played on the king side, white is ready to continue with the queen side play, b5. What else to play here? How else to justify the battery along the a file? Now, black has a move here that keeps him in the game. He doesn't find it. In the game, black plays a5. Computer points out bishop h4 is best, targeting f2. Kramnik doesn't come up with that, plays a5. I believe in a way a5 is saying I don't want to exchange too many pieces. I don't want to subject maybe my bishop to some attack one day. I believe with this pawn still around, getting at this b7 bishop is not as easy. If there's an open b file, you can easily see a major piece, maybe put pressure on it. A bit more stable a piece, the bishop on b7 with the pawn on b5. So after a5, white is in a winning position. Doesn't find the best move here. Plays the most natural move, I believe, which is to take the pawn on a5. Now, what is best in this position? This is considered best. Now, I must admit, if a move like this is played, this to me would be somewhat of a red flag. I'd be like, why can you get away with taking this pawn, opening up the bishop's eyes to a few more squares? Why would you be inviting the rook to now take on f5 and invite another piece into the mix? This seems a bit scary to play in this way, but there's a tactical justification for taking on f5. This would really show some excellent board vision, in my opinion, being able to play at this faster time control and being able to shift gears away from this attention along the a file. What is the point I'm getting at? If you take on f5 and black recaptures on f5, white would have queen c4 check, and we see this knight will next fall. That, I believe, would be a big adjustment for a human to make in a blitz game like this. You've made so many moves focused along the a file to then all of a sudden find a variation where you shift gears and do something along a rank like this. Anyhow, the best move not found. Rook takes a, rook takes rook, rook takes rook, and the follow-up here is d5. Black still apparently could be in the game if bishop h4 is played in this position, but he doesn't find it. In this one, it is d5. And it's pretty much a win from here for white. Only a 30-move game. This is a formation, by the way, you'll sometimes see in a Sicilian Sveshnikov. The three pawns going right after this e4 pawn, one way or the other. After either capture, black will be able to push through with e4. So this is black's aim to eventually get this pawn established here and try and scare away the f3 knight, one of the key defensive pieces on the king side. We continue with knight takes d5, bishop takes knight, pawn takes bishop, and now black is able to get in e4, but do know the material count here. White is up a light square bishop. White can't afford to give back some material. He goes in with rook to a7. Even if you take this knight, There's many ways to approach this. You could take with the queen, the bishop. This is not some narrow path to victory here for white. This is what Kramnik does play. He goes ahead and takes the knight with about 35 seconds of thought. And I believe a lot of the calculation was already done here by white during Kramnik's move. He comes up with the best move, forceful move, queen e6, check. Now, what I would like to point out is if white takes the bishop, black would be winning in a really interesting way. I'd like to highlight a few variations here before we look at the move played in the game, queen e6 check. So if white takes the bishop in this position, black would be winning with the following. Check on h2, and then not pawn takes bishop or queen takes bishop. White would be winning in both of those cases. Let me point out why. If you take with the pawn, the king is able to escape. You could promote to a knight, but apparently the king is slithering away, and this is eventually going to collapse. Additionally, if you take with the queen, and then take here, and then land a check, it seems like black's going to be getting mated, or black's going to mate white after king c1. But white can take the knight in this position. This is a beautiful queen sacrifice. It's a checkmate in 4 for white. It would be, with rook takes g7, and pick your favorite retreat move with the rook. Couple moves from here, and it will be checkmate. The only winning move for black in this position right here is this sparkling move, knight e3 check. A move you might describe as an interference move, and also a clearance move. It interferes with the queen's view of e2, and also clears the way for black to one day defend g7. Let's see what I'm talking about. If white, first of all, runs with the king, he gets hunted. There's some king walk up into the center. Black is winning with this octopus knight on e3 combined with the black queen. If you take with the pawn, it'll be a mate in 2 on e2. And if you take with the queen, well, now black can take the bishop with check and be there just in the nick of time, promoting and defending g7. So I wanted to point that out. That's a really cool move in this position right here. Knight to e3, the only winning move for black. As tempting as these two would be, the captures on g2. Okay, in this game, it is the most forceful, easiest one to calculate for white as well. It is with check. In the game, rook f7 is played. The only other option, really, okay, you can't afford a queen exchange, so let's look at what would happen if king goes to the corner. White would have this as the only move. Bishop takes g7, and then you could take the bishop with check. Any king move, and queen g7 is mate. And the only other option, therefore, is to block on f7. And this here would be a 1 minor piece ending. These guys are all passed and connected. Completely winning here for white. What is played? Rook f7. And this game finishes up very nicely with rook a8, check, bishop f8, rook takes bishop check. Kramnik had about 12 seconds at this stage and just let his time run out. It's a forced mate. The only move is to take with the king. Bishop a3 check would follow. And here's just one path straight to mate. King g8, queen check, rook f8, and queen takes rook. Game over. What'd you think of this one? Anyhow, feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.